You would think having no money on the streets will lead to starvation. Well, it turns out it doesn't. And the people who depend on it spent years mapping out where to get a decent meal with a precision that would embarrass most urban planners. There's a bakery in your city throwing out a specific number of calories at a specific time every single night. There's a gas station clerk who already knows which face to expect at 11:50 p.m. And there's a church, almost certainly within 2 miles of where you're sitting right now, with a spigot that's been quietly running for strangers since before you were born. This isn't a story about charity. It's a map of a parallel economy that operates entirely on timing, observation, and the part of human nature that doesn't make the news. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'd assume the hardest part of being homeless is finding food. It isn't. Finding food is actually the part most homeless people figure out within the first week. What takes years to learn is which food is safest to eat, and why getting that wrong is what sends people to the emergency room. One item on this list contains more calories than most people eat in a full day and costs $3. Another is thrown away by every bakery in America on a fixed schedule, so predictable you could set a clock to it. And the one that surprises people most isn't food at all. It's the 16 ounces of something free that makes every other meal on this list go twice as far. This isn't a list about eating badly to survive. It's a record of what human beings figure out about food when every choice has a consequence. And some of what they landed on is so efficient, it should be embarrassing to the rest of us. The meals on this list would make a nutritionist uncomfortable. Some of them would make two nutritionists argue. But here's the thing, the people eating them are solving a completely different equation than the one nutritionists are trained to solve. And when you understand what that equation actually is, every single choice on this list starts making perfect sense. The sugary cereal isn't ignorance. It's correct math for a body burning calories just to stay warm overnight. The processed meat with a cardiologist's nightmare sodium count is exactly right for someone sweating it out across 8 miles of summer pavement. And the combination that one doctor actually studied, the one that produces the same energy curve elite athletes pay premium prices to replicate, costs under $2 and requires no cooking equipment of any kind. This video about what food actually means when every calorie has to earn its place. Most people think surviving without money means being unable to eat. It doesn't. The homeless people who've actually done it, weeks, months, sometimes years without a kitchen, a refrigerator, or a guaranteed next meal, aren't operating on luck. They're operating on a specific, tested, street-level knowledge about food that took years to build and costs nothing to use. Homeless people know which protein-source food banks almost never stock, and exactly where to find it instead. They know which combination of 2 cheap ingredients produces slow-burning fuel that lasts 4 hours without crashing. They know the one thing you can do before any meal, completely free, that makes the food you eat feel like twice as much. None of this is in a cookbook. None of it gets taught. It gets figured out, quietly, under real pressure. And what came out of that process is more efficient than anything most of us have ever put in a grocery cart. Nobody talks about this part, the ingenuity of it, the actual intelligence required to feed yourself every day with almost nothing, in a city that wasn't designed to help you, using systems nobody told you existed, and resources nobody officially made available. One item on this list has been in military field rations for over a century. One was studied by doctors who couldn't believe how well it worked, and one, the combination that appears at the very end, was independently discovered by Elvis Presley, the United States Army, and people sleeping rough in cities across America, each arriving at the exact same answer through completely different routes. This isn't a poverty story. It's a record of human problem solving at its most stripped down and most honest. And by the time you reach the last item, you won't be thinking about how little they had. You'll be thinking about how much they figured out. Food bank workers will tell you this without hesitation. It vanishes faster than anything else on the shelf. Not canned goods, not bread, peanut butter. And once you understand why, you understand the entire foundation of street food strategy. A single $3 jar contains somewhere between 2,400 and 2,600 calories. Let that land for a second. That's more than most people eat in an entire day, sitting inside one resealable container that fits in a jacket pocket. It survives rain, mud, heat, and the daily beating that comes with carrying everything you own on your back. You don't need a stove. You don't need a bowl. You don't even need a spoon if things get desperate enough. The lid screws back and seals out moisture, insects, and contamination. When your entire kitchen is a backpack, a lid that actually seals is worth more than people realize. Each tablespoon delivers 7 grams of protein alongside slow-burning fat that keeps the body running for hours. Not the sugar spike that peaks and drops you hard. A slow, steady fire. And when you don't know when your next meal is coming, slow and steady is everything. Veterans who've spent time on the streets describe peanut butter the same way soldiers describe field rations: portable, durable, calorie-dense by design. The military arrived at this formula decades ago. People surviving on city sidewalks arrived at the exact same conclusion independently. Every bakery in America throws out roughly 10% of everything it bakes. Croissants, sourdough, bagels, dinner rolls, donuts, tossed into bins simply because a clock on the wall says they've been sitting for 24 hours. The bread isn't bad. It isn't moldy. It just isn't Instagram fresh anymore. And apparently, that's enough to disqualify it. Homeless communities have the disposal schedules of local bakeries memorized with a precision that would impress a logistics manager. Tuesdays at the French place on the corner. Wednesday nights at the grocery store bakery. Thursday mornings at the bagel shop that clears everything by 9 a.m. This information passes through the community the way treasure maps pass between old friends. A rescued loaf delivers 1,200 to 1,600 calories, depending on the type. That's nearly a full day of energy from something destined for a dumpster. And some bakery workers have figured out a quiet workaround. Instead of tossing everything into a filthy bin, they set clean bags near the back door at closing time. No forms, no eye contact, no conversation required. Just bread next to a door and a shared understanding of what it means. Pair it with canned tuna or peanut butter, and it stops being charity food. It becomes a real meal. 15 cents. That's the floor price for a pack of ramen at most dollar stores, and 380 calories comes with it. That's not a feast by any objective measure, but on the street, the difference between 380 calories and nothing is not a small difference. What makes ramen remarkable in a survival context isn't the noodles. It's the flexibility. You don't need a kitchen. Gas station hot water dispensers work. Fast food restaurants will hand you a cup of hot water without blinking. Some people heat water in old coffee cans over small fires. In winter, car engine blocks stay warm for hours after parking and function as a free heat source. Every one of these methods produces the same result: something warm in your stomach on a cold night. The flavor packet is a small piece of applied food science. It's loaded with MSG, a compound that signals satisfaction to the brain more aggressively than the actual calorie content warrants. The stomach gets 380 calories. The brain receives a message closer to a full meal. That's chemistry working in your favor when nothing else is. 24 packs at a dollar store runs about $5. That's nearly a week of dinners for less than a single fast food combo meal. Experienced survivors grab fistfuls of hot sauce packets from Taco Bell on the way out. Free flavor, zero cost, and spice tricks the palate into thinking the meal is more substantial than it is. Pop the lid. Eat with a spork. Done. That's the entire preparation process for a meal delivering 25 grams of protein, roughly the equivalent of a grilled chicken breast, for under $1. No fire required, no wait time, no cleanup beyond the can. The liquid inside, called aquafaba, gets dumped out by most people who don't know better. On the street, every drop counts. That liquid contains dissolved nutrients, and practically speaking, it contributes to hydration when clean water isn't always easy to find. Old survival wisdom and street survival wisdom arrived at the same conclusion independently. Pull tab cans are the gold standard. A can without a pull tab is nearly useless to someone who lost their can opener 2 cities back. This is the kind of detail that doesn't occur to most people until they're standing in front of a food pantry shelf, trying to figure out how to open dinner. And here's the secret about beans. They release glucose into the bloodstream slowly. That donut from the food pantry spikes blood sugar and drops you flat an hour later. Beans keep you steady for 4 to 5 hours. For a body under constant physical stress, walking miles, carrying weight, sleeping in the cold, that steady release is the difference between functioning and collapsing. Food banks are chronically short on beans specifically. Everyone donates corn. Everyone donates green beans, black beans, pintos, kidney beans. The good stuff barely shows up. Street regulars have been known to trade extra crackers for a can of pintos. That's how valued they are. 10 ketchup packets mixed with hot water from a soda fountain is tomato soup. Not great tomato soup. Not tomato soup anyone would choose if they had options. But it's warm, it costs nothing, and it fills a gap when there is no other option. That's the honest math. Mayonnaise packets contain 90 calories each. A handful collected from a condiment counter represents more energy than a granola bar for free. Mustard contains almost no calories, but transforms plain rice from something nearly inedible into something approaching palatable. Hot sauce packets on saltine crackers become an actual meal. When appetite is strong enough, the vinegar and spice interact with the palate in ways that feel more substantial than they are. The workers behind the counter notice the same faces coming in regularly. They watch someone quietly take a handful of condiments without ordering anything, and most of the time, not always, they look the other way. There's an unspoken arrangement operating in fast food restaurants across the country. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't appear in any corporate policy document. It just happens. Some chains have responded by moving condiments behind the counter and restricting distribution. Corporate America quietly noticed the pattern. The people who relied on those free packets noticed back. Forget the can. The foil pouch changed the game, and most people haven't caught on yet. It weighs almost nothing. It slides into a jacket pocket, like it was designed specifically for this purpose. A single tuna pouch runs about $1.50 and contains 20 grams of pure protein. No can opener required. No sharp metal edges. No liquid to drain. Tear it open and eat it. That last detail, the sharp edges, matters more than it sounds. Canned food injuries are surprisingly common among people opening their 10th can of the week with improvised tools. Hands that look like they've lost an argument with sheet metal. The pouch eliminates that entirely. And here's the thing. Food banks almost never stock pouches. Donors assume homeless people have kitchens. They picture someone going home, opening a cabinet, getting out a bowl, making tuna salad. The reality is a backpack, a park bench, and needing something you can open and eat in 30 seconds without any equipment. The most practical protein sources get overlooked, while canned goods stack up in donation bins. Here's the part most people don't know. You don't have to sleep at a shelter to eat there. Most shelters serve breakfast between 6 and 8 in the morning. Walk through the door looking hungry, and you get fed. Experienced individuals figured this out years ago and built rotating circuits around it. Monday at the Salvation Army. Wednesday at the Catholic Mission. Friday at the Baptist Shelter downtown. It's a meal subscription operating entirely on the basis of showing up. The Salvation Army alone serves over 56 million meals annually, more than the entire population of Spain sitting down to breakfast at the same table. A standard shelter breakfast is oatmeal, toast, coffee, and sometimes scrambled eggs. That's 400 to 600 calories before 9 a.m. The coffee station matters as much as anything else on that table. Free refills, free sugar, free cream. Regulars load their cups with enough cream and sugar to make a barista flinch, because those are free calories in a cup, and every free calorie matters. But the real asset isn't even the food. It's the information shared at those tables. Which kitchen serves seconds? Which volunteers slip an extra roll when the director isn't watching? Which locations let you take leftovers in a bag? That knowledge circulates through the community at breakfast tables across every city in the country. The food is the reason you show up. The information is the reason you keep coming back. There's a legal expiration clock running on every hot dog, spinning on every roller grill in every gas station in America. By midnight, most locations are required to pull them. which means clerks start marking them down around 11 p.m., 50 cents, $1, just to move inventory before the deadline hits. A single hot dog is 150 calories and 5 grams of protein. That's not a feast, but for someone who hasn't eaten anything hot in 3 or 4 days, a hot dog at midnight is exactly that, and the bun is free at most stations. Night shift clerks working 12-hour overnight shifts in empty stores start recognizing faces. The same person checking the roller grill at 12:30 a.m. becomes a familiar presence. Relationships form out of nothing more than repetition and proximity. Some workers start setting aside almost expired items for specific regulars. Better it feeds someone than getting tossed in a dumpster. Gas stations offer more than food. Air conditioning in July. Heat in January. A bathroom. A counter to sit at for a few minutes and feel like a person eating dinner rather than someone surviving the night. Independent stations operate with considerably more flexibility than corporate-run locations. Find the right clerk at the right independent station, and the math changes completely. $1 for a box of generic pasta. Another $1 for a jar of marinara. $2 total, and you have 4 full servings. 50 cents per meal. Find that price anywhere else. No stove? Solvable. Dry pasta soaks in cold water for about 90 minutes until it softens enough to eat. It's not what any Italian grandmother would recognize, but it works. Microwaves at laundromats and gas stations produce the real version. A small camp stove handles it easily. The preparation is flexible in ways that matter when your cooking environment changes every night. In winter, the value shifts. When temperatures drop below freezing and the body starts burning through calories to stay warm, carbohydrate-dense foods stop being dinner and start being survival fuel. The body needs that stored energy and burns through it fast. Pasta provides exactly the dense, efficient calories a body running cold is demanding. Dry pasta is also practically indestructible. Crush it in a backpack, still edible. Leave it for 6 months, still good. It doesn't bruise, it doesn't spoil in summer heat, and it doesn't attract insects the way softer foods do. Grab Parmesan packets from pizza shops on the way out, and it becomes something that almost resembles a real meal. Almost. But close enough. Grocery stores can't sell brown spotted bananas. They can't sell apples with soft patches or peaches that are one day past their visual peak. Customers want produce that looks like it belongs in a magazine, and anything that doesn't meet that standard gets pulled. What happens next depends on the store. Sometimes a free bin near the exit. Sometimes bags quietly left by the door. Homeless communities know the timing of these bins the way office workers know the coffee schedule. Mid-morning, after the overnight stock gets sorted. That's when the fruit appears. A banana from the free pile delivers 105 calories, potassium for heart function, and fast-acting natural sugar. Apples go further. They last up to 2 weeks without refrigeration. Stuff one in a backpack and forget about it. It'll still be good a week from Tuesday. The fiber in fruit addresses a problem that rarely gets discussed. Rice, bread, ramen, canned goods, the survival diet is chronically low in fiber. This causes digestive problems that send thousands of people to emergency rooms every year. A few pieces of fruit per week prevents a medical crisis that would otherwise consume an entire day and leave someone weaker than before. Farmers' markets at closing time present a different opportunity. Vendors at the end of a long day face a straightforward choice. Haul bruised produce back to a truck or hand it to the person who has been quietly waiting nearby. Most choose the easier option. Surviving on the streets requires a calendar running constantly in your head. Most cities have an underground schedule, a rotating map of which churches, missions, and community organizations serve hot food on which nights. Monday at First Baptist on Oak Street. Tuesday at the Methodist Church downtown. Wednesday and Sunday are the biggest nights because congregations gather anyway, and wherever people gather around food, there tends to be more of it. One man I heard about carried a worn index card, just abbreviations and times. SBM9 meant Salvation Army Breakfast. Monday 9 a.m. CCW6 was Community Church Dinner, Wednesday 6 p.m. That single card guaranteed him 21 meals a week without spending a dime. Meanwhile, people with 6 months of freeze-dried emergency food at home never learned the resource rhythm of their own city. A soup kitchen meal delivers 800 to 1,000 calories on average. Protein, vegetables, bread, sometimes dessert. More nutrition in a single sitting than some people eat across 2 days of scavenging. Feeding America estimates that soup kitchens served roughly 3 billion meals in a single year. That's billion with a B. Some individuals walk 5 to 10 miles daily to hit different meal sites on the circuit. They call it running the route. It's a full-time job that doubles as cardio. And the regulars know details newcomers don't, which kitchens serve seconds without being asked, which locations let people take leftovers in a bag for breakfast. Holidays operate differently. Thanksgiving and Christmas meals frequently include take-home portions, enough food to stretch 2 or 3 days if managed carefully. No milk, no bowl, no spoon. A family-sized box of generic cereal runs about $3 and provides 13 servings, eaten dry, handful by handful, directly from the box. This is breakfast. This is also a snack, a late-night fallback, and an emergency meal when nothing else is available. Fortified cereals are nutritional supplements wearing a breakfast costume. Iron, B vitamins, folic acid, all the micronutrients doctors worry about when treating homeless populations for chronic deficiency. A box of Cheerios addresses cholesterol concerns that actually matter when you're aging on the streets with no consistent healthcare access. The sugary children's cereals that everyone judges in the grocery store aisle? Homeless individuals specifically prefer them. The extra calories matter more than nutritional purity. When you're burning energy just trying to stay warm overnight, survival math overrides diet culture entirely. That's not ignorance. That's correct math given the actual problem. The practical genius is in the packaging. Once opened, the box flattens completely. In a life where everything has to fit in a single backpack, that matters. Cereal doesn't spoil in summer heat. It doesn't produce cooking smells that draw unwanted attention. It's quiet food, and quiet food has real value. A clean shirt and a composed demeanor can unlock doors that stay closed for everyone else. Extended stay hotels and motels with continental breakfast setups keep oatmeal packets sitting in the lobby, free for guests, and unmonitored for anyone who walks in looking like they belong. One packet is 150 calories. Hot water flows from the same coffee station 3 feet away. 15 minutes later, there's breakfast. Men and women who run this strategy talk about ironing their one good shirt specifically for these morning runs. The iron matters. Staff sees hundreds of unfamiliar faces every week. One more doesn't raise questions. Looking like you belong is not about lying. It's about understanding that context is what people actually read, not identity. The nutritional case for oatmeal goes deeper than the calorie count. Beta-glucan fiber, the specific compound in oats, creates lasting fullness that cheap, sugary alternatives can't replicate. Blood sugar stays stable for hours rather than spiking and crashing by mid-morning. That stability affects concentration, mood, and decision-making in ways that matter enormously when every day requires navigating complex environments with limited resources. Hotels near highway exits work best, high staff turnover, constantly changing guest lists, loosely enforced policies. Hospital cafeterias keep oatmeal stocked for visitors. Office building break rooms leave it in baskets nobody monitors. A can of Spam costs $3.50 and packs approximately 1,000 calories and 40 grams of protein into a container that fits in a palm. That's 2 complete meals in one purchase. Vienna sausages cost even less, about $1, and open with a pop-top lid that requires nothing but a finger. Eat directly from the can. No utensils, no heating, no mess beyond the can itself. The sodium content would concern any cardiologist seeing it on a chart. Over 1,000 milligrams per serving, sometimes more. But here's what gets missed in that conversation. Homeless individuals walking 5 to 8 miles daily in summer heat are sweating out sodium at a rate that makes replacement a medical necessity rather than a health risk. The salt isn't the problem. In this specific context, it's part of the solution. The fat in processed meat burns slowly. Eat Spam at noon, and you're still running on that energy at sunset. It functions like diesel fuel compared to the quick-burning gasoline of sugary carbohydrates. And the shelf life is extraordinary, 3 to 5 years unopened. These cans are built for long-term storage by design, and that design makes them ideal for someone whose storage situation is a backpack. Among Hawaiian and Filipino homeless communities on the West Coast, Spam carries additional weight beyond calories. It's comfort food, culturally familiar in a way that most shelter meals aren't. A box of instant mashed potatoes costs $1.50 and contains 6 full servings. Each one delivers around 160 calories before anything gets added. Hot water is the only requirement, and hot water comes from the same gas station dispenser, the same library sink, the same Sterno can that heats ramen. The starch in potatoes creates a specific kind of fullness that bread and crackers can't quite replicate. Heavy, satisfying, lingering. People who've spent weeks on light carbs describe instant potatoes as the first time they actually felt full. Not satisfied enough, but genuinely full. That distinction matters more than it sounds when the body is running on uncertainty. Potatoes contain potassium and vitamin C, both of which matter to a body under constant physical stress. They're also lower in sodium than ramen, making them a more sustainable daily option for people managing blood pressure concerns. The trade-off is flavor. Plain instant potatoes need something to make them edible. That's where free condiment packets, hot sauce, and the occasional donated butter come in. Food banks that added instant potatoes to their regular stock watch the boxes disappear faster than almost any other new item. Hard-boiled eggs are one of the most requested items at food pantries and among the most consistently overlooked by donors. Everyone thinks canned goods. Nobody thinks eggs. Church breakfast programs figured it out quickly. A full tray of hard-boiled eggs disappears faster than anything else on the table. One egg contains 6 grams of complete protein, every amino acid the human body needs, packed into 78 calories inside something roughly the size of a closed fist. Hard-boiled eggs are safe at room temperature for about 2 hours. That's enough time to walk to the next stop on the morning circuit. Street-smart individuals know which churches boil a full tray on Sunday mornings and quietly slip 2 or 3 into a jacket pocket before leaving. No bag required. No utensils. No smell that draws attention. Just protein you can eat while walking. This is one of those cases where the nutritionally complete answer and the practically correct answer happen to be the same thing. Peanut butter alone is powerful. A sleeve of saltine crackers alone is a snack. Put them together and something shifts. You have a structured meal with texture, portability, and enough calories to actually register. A sleeve of generic saltines costs about 60 cents and delivers around 500 calories on its own. Add peanut butter to each cracker, and that number climbs to roughly 900 calories, consumed one-handed while walking, without any water, without any preparation time, without any equipment whatsoever. The nutritional mechanics work in layers. Crackers provide fast carbohydrates that hit immediately. Peanut butter slows everything down. The fat and protein extend the energy burn over hours rather than minutes. The body gets immediate fuel and sustained fuel from the same handful of crackers. That layered release is precisely what's needed when the timing of the next meal is unknown. Food bank volunteers noticed quickly that giving peanut butter and crackers separately reduced how much good either one did. Together, they become a complete portable meal that requires nothing: no water, no heat, no surface to work on. Dollar stores are underestimated as grocery stores, and nothing proves this more clearly than the trail mix sitting in the snack aisle. A $1 bag of mixed nuts, raisins, and dried fruit delivers around 600 calories and a surprisingly broad nutrient profile. Magnesium from the nuts, iron from the raisins, natural sugar and fiber from the dried fruit. Everything is in a resealable bag that fits in a pocket. Eat a handful now. Seal it. Eat another handful at midnight when the shelters are locked and the options have narrowed to nothing. Experienced survivors look specifically for mixes dominated by peanuts rather than cashews. The math is simple. Peanuts are higher in fat and therefore higher in calories per dollar. Cashews are for people with kitchens and grocery budgets. Peanuts are for people with backpacks and survival calculations to make. The resealable bag solves the problem of eating in stages across an unpredictable day. Most people picture homeless individuals heating canned soup on a stove and eating from a bowl. That image is wrong in almost every specific detail. The reality is a pull-tab can, a plastic spoon, room temperature, and a park bench, which is not as grim as it sounds once you understand that 250 calories and 5 grams of protein just showed up for under $1. Pull-tab cans are non-negotiable. A regular can without a pull-tab requires an opener that's bulky, easy to lose, and often missing. A sealed can with no way to open it is a paperweight. This is a detail that matters enormously at the point of use, and it's the kind of detail that only becomes obvious after you've stood in the cold holding an unopenable dinner. Condensed soup, the kind the label says to mix with water, can be eaten straight from the can if necessary. It's thick, intensely salty, and calorically dense precisely because it's designed to be diluted. Not diluting it means more calories per spoonful. Street veterans sometimes describe preferring it this way. We've been building to this one the whole time, and it might be the most important item on the list precisely because it isn't a meal. 16 ounces of water before eating tricks the stomach into signaling fullness the food alone wouldn't produce. This is the oldest appetite management technique in existence. On the street, it isn't a diet strategy. It's a way of making half a sandwich feel like a whole one when half a sandwich is all there is. Understanding that distinction changes how you read the entire list. Public fountains are lifelines. Parks, libraries, government buildings, transit stations. Cities are installing fewer of them, not more, which means finding them requires local knowledge, the kind that gets passed around the community the way all practical survival information does, person to person, without a map, without a website. Fortunately, you can get free water at any fast food location. Just go in and ask for some. Dehydration sends more homeless people to emergency rooms than most people would guess, particularly in summer, when temperatures on concrete and asphalt run 10 to 15 degrees hotter than the reported air temperature. Hunger is visible and legible. Dehydration is quieter and more dangerous.